Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is wild salmon. Confusion over wild salmon. I'm sitting right now out in front of my restaurant. It's about 11 o'clock at night. The jazz is still playing. It's a beautiful summer night. So over the years, I've encountered chefs and restaurants that serve salmon from the Faroe Islands. And they're insistent that the Faroe Island salmon is wild, that they're serving wild Atlantic Faroe Island salmon. So I'm going to sort of debunk this right now. I'm going to tell you how I feel about the salmon from the Faroe Islands, farmed salmon in general, and I'm going to explain what I think is really happening over there and how misleading this actually is. So, one of the more popular brands of salmon is Hidden Forge, Hiddenfjord, Hidden Forge. Hidden Forge salmon. So they have a great website, I got to tell you. You go on their website and it looks great, the pristine waters. You log onto their homepage and there is several awesome pictures of salmon. And here's the one thing that is really... See you later, Moto. So here's the one thing that gets chefs, okay? There's a picture of the Faroe Islands, the bay there. There's pictures, I'm going to inlay this picture, there's pictures of all these salmon pens, like about 10 of them, these round salmon pens. And the photo actually says, Hidden Forge brand, raised in the wild. Raised in the wild. That term wild, that wild term is extremely confusing and misleading. And I feel that they're putting that wild term out there to purposely mislead. Am I 100% sure? No. Do I know this company personally? No, I don't know them personally. Are they nice people? I don't know that. This is just a critique of their website. And it's hopefully going to educate some chefs to get in here and read between the lines, okay? This is furthermore from their website. Let's see here. When you go to our practices, okay, Hidden Forge premium salmon are raised in the wild without the use of antibiotics or hormones. We have developed the most natural and humane harvest method in the world, which also means we do not use well boats in the process. So they're stating that they don't use antibiotics or hormones. They're not saying that they don't use pesticides, that there's not other stuff in there. They're not stating anything else besides antibiotics and hormones, zip zero. They're saying that we don't do that. But, you know, when you look at salmon food, the salmon refinery business, the seafood for refinery businesses, these pellet houses are disgusting. And the food that actually goes into, the ingredients that go into these salmon pellets and fish pellets is horrendous. So they might say they're not using antibiotics or hormones, but they're not saying that it's free of anything else. First of all, here's the big issue with farm salmon. Farm salmon will never be as sustainable as wild salmon. It just won't. Okay, it takes 3 pounds of farmed salmon, 3 pounds of fish food to make 1 pound of salmon. It's just, the whole industry to begin with is in an offset. So the word sustainable to begin with is just a total oxymoron when it comes to salmon. It's hard to say that you're having a sustainable business, a sustainable industry that's, by definition, is just not sustainable to begin with. If Hidden Forge was 100% serious about making the best salmon in the world, then they need to go to a closed containment system where the salmon are actually in a containment system where the water's not getting out and the disease isn't spreading. See, the website says nothing about if they're getting viruses, diseases, sea lice. It's saying nothing about that, because when you put that much salmon together in a pen, you're going to have problems. It's just the way the business works. That's the bottom line. And in Canada, when that happens, they kill all the salmon. I'm sure they do this around the world to another salmon farm. You have to put down all the salmon. The whole salmon gets put down when an infectious disease breaks out. Except in Canada, these people have the government in their back pocket, where the Canadian government pays full retail for every single fish that they've actually lost in this process. So for them, it's like, kill the salmon. We still get our money at taxpayers' expenses. So, from Sea Shepherd, By the time farm salmon is packaged and on the shelf, farm salmon have been fed, injected, and exposed with a host of toxins, pathogens that render them largely unfit for human consumption. In fact, farm salmon contains some of the highest concentration of toxic chemicals found in any widely sold food. These include DDT, viruses, insecticides, GMO corn, and animal byproducts, artificial coloring, flame retardants, don't ask me how that gets in there, but it does, PCBs, and fat, and lots of fat. Fat, of course, is where the nasty stuff tends to accumulate, so lots of fat means that you might not live long enough to have to worry about the clogging of your arteries. Since farmed salmon are kept in close proximity to other farmed salmon, like sardines, in a can, any outbreak of fish disease has highly probable of wiping out the entire population. Spending their entire life swimming in a soup of their own mucus and excrement doesn't help either. Hence the need for large quantities of antibiotics to be added to their feed, which also has health implications for the diner as well as the surrounding ecosystem. To this unnatural diet is also added growth hormones, otherwise known as steroids, again with consequences of unknown nature for those higher up in the food chain, like us. Add that to the mix of pesticides routinely dosed to eliminate sea lice. That's a whole nother story, and you start to get the picture that it's not as it should be in a salmon pen. So, when you go onto their website, you see nothing about other things such as hormones and antibiotics. You see nothing about pesticides. You see nothing about anything else that they're using. You don't see any reports of saying, hey, check our records, we haven't had any outbreaks. Now, maybe they haven't. Maybe they don't use anything else. But if they are not using all that stuff, they should really say, hey, our food is DDT free, our food is pesticide free, our food is this, this, and this. See, the reason why farmed salmon are so toxic is because it's a high-fat fish. You feed this fish fat, and in fat, whether you're eating fat or you're accumulating fat, that's where toxins are stored. So the higher fat content of this fish means just higher toxins, and they basically feed salmon high-fat other fish. So they go into the ocean and they harvest all this fish, whether it's sardines or whatever it is, to feed salmon. So they're at a net loss to begin with. That's why I was saying earlier that it's just impossible to say, hey, salmon's a sustainable thing to grow, because you're at a net loss of worldwide protein. So you're losing protein you're really losing protein in the equation to basically feed people. So now here's an article from spinwatch.com. The results show that farmed salmon contain levels. This is referring to a study that they did, a study that was done. The results show that farmed salmon contain levels of PCBs significantly higher than the wild salmon, with Scottish farmed salmon displaying the highest levels in the sample. Authors recommended the combined concentration of PCBs, toxaphane, and dieldrin trigger stringent consumption advice for farmed salmon purchased from wholesalers and from store-bought farmed salmon fillets. This advice is much more restrictive than consumption advice triggered by contaminants in the tissues of wild salmon. With reference to the EPA standards, they argued that safe consumption of toxic salmon purchased in Frankfurt and farmed in the Faroe Islands and Scotland should not exceed more than 1/2 portion of salmon per month. That's like 3 to 4 ounces of salmon per month. They're saying, do not consume this stuff, is toxic. Now, also other things that I've read about the Faroe Islands are that it is a toxic place to begin with. It was, for years, this was a dumping ground for nuclear waste and for just people to dump stuff in the ocean, because it was such a remote part of the world that just, go dump that there, go dump this there, go dump that there. And I don't know, I couldn't find that for this video, but I did read that in the past. I don't know how true that is. So the whole issue here is hidden forward salmon. You really need to remove the word wild off of your website. That's like saying, oh, we have corn-fed beef that is raised in lush grass, because the grass is all around doesn't mean that they're eating the grass. and it doesn't mean that they have access to the grass, and it doesn't mean that that's their only part of their diet. These fish are definitely farmed. They're in pens. They're in the ocean. You can go on their website. You can see it. So Hidden Ford, you really need to remove that word wild out of there. Sorry, there's buses going by. All right, so, Hidden Ford, remove that word wild out of there. Don't confuse people. Chefs and restaurateurs and other people are just so confused by that word wild on your website. And they swear that they have wild salmon. They swear to their guests that they have wild salmon, and it's not even close to that. So remember, this is just my personal critique of Hidden Ford and just farmed salmon to begin with. I don't consume it. I don't purchase it for my restaurant. I haven't done that. I've never done that. 13 years my restaurant served a farmed salmon. I just feel the whole industry just needs to either go away or totally change everything. And here's the thing. These companies know the key words. Like Hidden Ford is putting the word wild there. They're not saying that they're wild fish, but they're raised in the wild. And this confuses consumers and chefs, like I said. But if you go to any of these people's websites, Lock, Do Heart, you go to any of these people's websites about their salmon, and they're going to tell you why their salmon is the best, 100% the best, why their salmon is so much different. Why their salmon is so much different than all the other salmon farms, and that they're a sustainable rating, and they're this and they're this. People, that's BS. They're salespeople. They are salespeople. When you go buy a car, they're going to tell you why their car is the best, no matter what this and that. Their salespeople is the bottom line to that. So buyer beware. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel. Definitely pass it on. If you have any comments or concerns, please leave them below. And again, no hate going out to Hidden Ford. Just critiquing what I think that they should do on their website. Me as a consumer, I know that I've talked to many people that are just downright confused by that word wild. Thanks for watching.